What is up, guys? It's the Football Take Slayer, back here to slay another terrible take coming from the club. I just can't help it with these guys, man. I feel like a lot of their takes are either outdated, not genuine, or they just aren't watching football as much as the rest of us. I'm gonna play this next clip. You're gonna hear them talking about Manchester United strikers, because that's all they're talking about at this current moment. So just take a listen.
That's why, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and you keep Hoyland. It wouldn't. I'm not suggesting we do it, but that shit wouldn't shock me with the state of the maybe the finance and stuff. But I think United.
Where do you draw the line? Do you go for Raheem Sterling on the wing and Vardy with him up
Jamie
front?
Vardy. I'd rather Vardy than Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Of course, by a mile.
After listening to that clip, I just want to say, if you hear or see any bad football takes, send them my way, and I'll slay them and call them out for not knowing ball. Now let's get into it. After hearing that clip, I just want to dissect this take. I know I just talked about this in my last video because I spoke about my opinion on Calvert-Lewin, but now I really want to dissect this take because I think understanding narratives and framing in the football world is so important. Every time Calvert-Lewin is spoken about, it is then followed up by Callum Wilson and Jamie Vardy as if they are in the same caliber and almost as if they are all the same player. This is just framing being used to lump Calvert-Lewin in with bad players and act like he is of the same level, he is of the same playing type, same technicality, same technical level, same age, same everything. But that is not the case. Right now on the screen, you can see a chart of Calvert-Lewin compared side by side with Jamie Vardy. When you see this chart side by side, the comparisons seem very flawed now. There's one person's chart that you are seeing a whole lot more green, if I'm correct. That same person that you are seeing, the green, is also 10 years younger than the guy with literally no green in his chart at all. He is not in the top 99th, top 70th, top 60th percentile of anything when it comes to football. How can public football figures like Rory openly state that they would rather take Jamie Vardy at Manchester United over Calvert-Lewin? And there is no argument for Jamie Vardy. You could try to say that Vardy's on a worse team, which is true. Leicester were really bad this year, but so was Everton. Everton were the lowest goal-scoring team other than the three teams that were relegated. It's not like they were this high goal-scoring output team where Calvert-Lewin was just underperforming, and of course Calvert-Lewin's chart's going to be better. You're on Everton, they're this attacking juggernaut. That's not the case. They are the equivalent in attacking sense of a team that would get relegated, just like Leicester. I think they only scored about 9 more goals than Leicester. Nothing insane. And I think that argument, you can't even make that argument for Jamie Vardy when you see these charts side by side. The teams are both low scoring, but you can almost argue that the quality of the squad is almost the same between the two teams. It's just the fact that one team had a quality coach who knows how to keep teams safe in the Prem, like Sean Dyche, and the other team just didn't have that type of coach. The coach doesn't have that same technicality when it comes to setting up your team to be very, very difficult to break down and to get a result like Sean Dyche has been doing for years. And I just don't know how you can compare someone like Calvert-Lewin, who is still in the top 80th percentile of non-expected XG, non-penalty expected XG, and the top 99th percentile when it comes to aerial ability. He is basically the best, if not top 10 strikers when it comes to his aerial ability. There is no downside to signing someone like Calvert-Lewin. There is no fee. You can offer him lower wages than almost any other first-team player on the squad because he needs a chance at trying to revive his career. He's only the mere age of 28. He still has a lot of prime left in him. He wants to try and revive his career. And where else would you have a better opportunity other than a struggling Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in football, where you can come in, you are British, you have that passion, and you can come in and try to revive your career while also reviving a struggling Manchester United. there is literally all upside and little to no downside. But when it comes to someone like Vardy, not only is he just past it, there is really just no upside. He doesn't really fit Amorim's system. And not only does he not fit the system, he also just doesn't offer much difference to any of the options that are already on Manchester United. What is the difference between Højlund's style of play and Vardy's? They both aren't dying to have the ball at their feet. They're not trying to have the ball in tight places. They're not trying to really have any super overly progressive carries where they're taking on a bunch of defenders. They're both trying to run in behind and use their physicality to hold off defenders. But the issue with that is Jamie Vardy's 38. And this season he showed that he doesn't have that ability anymore. He doesn't have that burst of pace. He doesn't have that physicality to run in behind, burst of pace, and hold off the defender while you finish. And it's not like he can rely on his technical ability like other players do when they age, like Ibrahimovic and like Rooney, because Vardy's just never been an overly technical player. He's always relied on his pace and his lethal finishing, but he's not able to get in those positions to finish anymore because he no longer has that pace. He's 38 years old, and that's okay. He shouldn't be playing for a team like Manchester United at the age of 38. That is completely normal. And the big issue with this, too, is just you're almost relying solely on appeasing your fans with the name Jamie Vardy, but everyone is smart enough to know that this isn't the same Jamie Vardy. And now it goes into the Callum Wilson argument. For me, it's only stats. It's not only focused on stats. I think he can still get a job done, and I think he should go to a team lower in the table that needs a striker and can do a job. For me, the argument when it comes to Callum Wilson is mostly about age. He is turning 34. He didn't play much last year. And once again, he isn't much of a different player than what is already on the roster. This is what is so different when it comes to Calvert-Lewin. And this is why I back the signing of Calvert-Lewin if they were to do it, is the style of play he can bring is so intriguing. He brings that ultimate plan B football that Manchester United has relied on at times to get results. Think Fellaini, think Harry Maguire this season. You get that level of plan B Route 1 football at no cost in his prime years. You aren't getting an old stopgap striker like Manchester United has tend to do recently. You are getting someone in his prime years who is British with a chance to revive his career and can get on the end of lobbed final balls, something that Xerxes and Højlund Xerxes definitely can't do, and Højlund just seems like he hasn't been able to do it. I know he has the physical ability, but he just isn't doing it. And now I kind of want to spend some time on the last bit of the clip. I'm going to replay it again right here.
But that shit
So
wouldn't
bad.
shock me with the state of the maybe the finance and stuff. But I think United.
Where
need
you draw
to-
the line? Do you go for Raheem Sterling on the wing and Vardy with him up
Jamie
front?
Vardy.
I'd
Yeah.
rather Vardy than Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Of course, by a mile.
I want to focus on the Sterling part. I know I think it was tongue in cheek, and I know there wasn't much focus on it. Can we stop acting like Sterling is the worst player in the world? Is he getting past his prime? Is he 30? Of course. But he could still do a job. I know he didn't get much of an opportunity at Arsenal. And I think that's fair. Arsenal has great players. They don't need to rely on someone like Sterling. That's fine. If he had more opportunities, and the opportunities he did have, he typically had some sort of goal contribution. He still is very effective at what he's always been effective at, which is being a fox in the box, either getting a rebound goal, either getting on the end of a final ball, or just providing a final ball himself. He's always been amazing at that, and he still is. And I just want to compare him and his stats to Mason Mount. You could see it on this chart right here. His chart looks almost just as good as Mason Mount, if not better. And Mason Mount came with a hefty fee. And I know you could say, well, Mason Mount didn't play much this season. Well, yeah, that's all the more reason an argument for a player like Sterling. He plays. He brings production. He brings depth. I know fans nowadays don't want to hear the depth argument. Every player you sign always has to somehow instantly get into your starting 11. That is not the reality of football. You need depth. You need depth in football. We saw that with Arsenal. We've seen that with teams throughout the year. You can't make these runs with all these games nowadays without the depth. And I know you could say that Mason Mount, he's still a quality player. I think Mason Mount is still a quality player. We're gonna have to see. But when players get hurt and you're starting Collier and you're starting Cheeto Obi, you are Manchester United. You shouldn't be starting players like that out of necessity. You should have a reliable backup that is Premier League proven, like a Sterling. I don't think a Sterling is a bad shout. I really hate how now it's become a meme to just say, oh yeah, and Sterling will be on your team like it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Sterling's played for Liverpool, he's played for Manchester United. He's played for Manchester City, he's played for Arsenal, he's played for Chelsea. He plays only for big teams, and there is a reason for that. And now I just want to focus on Sterling versus the Golden Boy Diallo, who I rate Ahmad very highly. Ahmad's chart is obviously better because he's a better player, but it's not as off as you'd suspect. There are players that are both players that are just still in the same caliber. They're almost still in the same tier. And one you can get for a very low fee, and the narrative on him is he's bad. There's never been a better time to buy Sterling. His entire perspective, everyone's perspective in world football is he's terrible. The fee can't be high. And now I the real reason why I want to focus on this is I'm going to change this chart for Ahmad's scouting report compared to fullbacks, which he was playing right wing back a lot of time throughout the year, and I'm not sure if that's where he will be playing this year. I don't know if he'll be playing in the attacking mid spot or he'll be playing right wing back, but I would assume he'd probably be playing right wing back, especially if the signings that Manchester United are hoping for, they come through. Look at this chart. The chart is insane. Ahmad, compared to fullbacks, is insane. If signing somebody like Sterling on a cheap can someone that can get a job done and play either attacking midfield position, gets to free up somebody like Amad Diallo to play the position that he is in the 99th percentile of every stat, I would love that for all fans of Manchester United and as a manager. And I know you could say, well, they signed Cunha and they're going to sign Mbeumo and Sterling's not going to have a spot. Well, guess what? If Cunha gets hurt or if Mbeumo gets hurt, would you want to move your 99th percentile right wing back into an attacking mid spot where his stats are slightly better than someone like Sterling? Or would you rather just move in a Sterling who's producing almost the same output and keep Ahmad at that right wing back spot that he is a top 99th percentile for that position? And I really just want to touch on this very quickly is Manchester United fans, you are in a rebuild. This is your quality of player that you can get in your current financial situation. You need to make hard, crafty decisions in these periods that aren't sexy and don't always overly excite the fans. Just like Callum Wilson with Newcastle. Newcastle 4 or 5 years ago weren't in the position they were now where they can sign whoever they want. You had to sign players like Callum Wilson who could get a job done. So now you can sign players like Bruno Guimaraes and Alexander Isak. That's how this works. But these are the signings you make that propel you the next year or the year after that, so then you can qualify for Europe, and then you start signing the exciting players again, like an Osimhen, like a Sesko. You need to go through this to get to the ultimate end goal, the ultimate goal at the end of the rainbow. But basically, I just want to say, I'm making this video mostly just pointing out that there's narratives and framing of this conversation when it comes to Calvert-Lewin. He shouldn't be lumped in with Vardy and Callum Wilson. We saw the stats. They aren't the same caliber of player. One is in his prime, still in the 99th percentile of aerial battles, 80th percentile of non-penalty XG, while the other two are 33 plus, and the stats have severely regressed. I just want these conversations to be less about narratives that are easy to shell out, like Sterling is bad, and more about stats that show these players can still have an impact, whether it's sexy or not.